Week 1 of the fantasy football season. He has tight end start sits every matchup this week. The first matchup, Dallas Cowboys at the championship Eagles on Thursday Night Football to kick it off. Jake Ferguson, he's a fringe option for me entering this ball game. He's going to be the third or fourth option in this Dallas Cowboy offense. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb, number one option, traded for George Pickens in the offseason. And Ferguson, he got a nice contract extension as well in the offseason, 4 for $54 from this Dallas Cowboy team. But like I said, it's going to be tough, especially versus a tough defense, being the number 3 option, even though Dak's always liked the tight end position throughout his career, going back to his rookie year with Jason Witten. But this week, to me, he's a fringe option. Dallas got a fringe option as well, in the same boat pretty much as Ferguson, where he's 4th, 5th option on this offense, behind Barkley, behind A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Then you got Goddard. I know Goddard had a couple big games last season, but that was only when Brown and Smith were out of the lineup at times. So this week, even in a good matchup versus a bad defense of the Cowboys, he's a fringe option. Kansas City Chiefs at the Chargers, Friday night ball game, so back-to-back games to kick off the season. Travis Kelce, he's a start for me in this one. I think this possibly could be Kelce's last season in the NFL, and he's going to go out with a big year possibly as Kelce. And believe it or not, last year he still caught 97 passes is Travis Kelce. So he fell down a lot in fantasy drafts this season coming into the year is Kelce. But this week in a matchup at the Chargers, a team he's had a good track record against, obviously playing twice a year in the AFC West. And obviously Rashee Rice suspended 6 games. Kelce is start. Tyler Conklin is sit. Conklin, it's his first year with the Chargers after last year he was with the New York Jets. But this Charger offense, the last few seasons, they really haven't utilized the tight end position in the offense. In this offense, they've improved in the offseason. Obviously, Ladd McConkey entering his second season. They added back Keenan Allen in free agency, which is going to help. And you got the impressive rookie running back in Amarian Hampton back there. So Conklin, like I said, he's been undrafted. The league's undrafted. They don't utilize the tight end position. He's a sit. Fins at the Colts, Darren Waller is sit. He didn't practice all training camp. He's been off for a season. Is Darren Waller. And even in, let's say if he was 100%, they still got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane over there. So we have to see a lot out of Waller before I would have confidence even owning him in most fantasy leagues. Tyler Warren to start. A lot of people big on Warren coming into the season. Number 14th overall pick in the NFL draft. And I think it was better for Warren. Daniel Jones is the quarterback over Anthony Richardson entering the season. And this week it's a pretty good matchup versus a Dolphin defense that really can't stop anyone. They have tons of injuries already from training camp, preseason, all the way into week 1. So Warren, I think, will finish the year as a top 12 tight end. And this week a start, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Jets. Jonnu Smith, the former Dolphin, he's a sit. Got traded there in the offseason in a blockbuster deal where it was him and Jalen Ramsey for Minka Fitzpatrick and picks in the deal. So Jonnu Smith, I don't know how he's going to fit in with this Steelers team. Aaron Rodgers, the last couple of years with the Jets, he didn't really target the tight end position. And even in Pittsburgh as well, you got Pat Freiermuth still over there where he's going to get some snaps, where I think these guys, they're going to run the same amount of routes and stuff like that. Like I said, I know Jonnu last year, second half of the season, one of the best tight ends in fantasy football. He was, no doubt about it. But now with a new scenery and a tough defense, he's a sit. Pat Freiermuth to sit as well. Like I said, his snaps are going to be cut in half at minimum with Jonnu Smith in town for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And the other thing as well, this offense, I think they're going to try to be run heavy as well. And DK Metcalf is going to get a majority of the targets. Mason Taylor is sit. The Jets are high on Taylor coming into the season, but obviously we got to see a lot out of Taylor before he's a viable fantasy option. Another player undrafted in a lot of fantasy leagues is Mason Taylor, and pretty much it's Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall in the early going for this Jet offense, and also with a very tough matchup versus one of the best defenses in the league. He's an easy sit. Panthers, Jaguars, not much to say here. Jatavian Sanders showed some flashes last season. I know there's not a lot of options in the passing game to Torrey McMillan, Xavier Legette, Chuba Hubbard out of the backfield. But Sanders, we haven't seen much out of him so far. But we'll see. Maybe this season, in his second full year now for Sanders, and Bryce Young improving over the last season here. Maybe he could get into the offense, but I wouldn't trust him this week. Brenton Strange, now the starting tight end for this Jaguar team. Evan Ingram, he's not on the roster anymore. He went to the Denver Broncos. But Strange, we saw a couple decent games from him over the last 2 seasons. But we got to see more consistency in him as well. He's the number 3-4 option in this offense. Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, ETN, even Dami Brown, Tim Patrick, they brought in this offseason as well, was this Jaguar team. So Strange, don't trust them. Cardinals at the Saints, Trey McBride, he was a top 2 tight end taken, number 1 target in this offense easily. And this week it's a great matchup indoors in New Orleans. Rebuilding team, one of the worst teams in the league they could be is this New Orleans Saints team. And Trey McBride must start every week. Juwan Johnson, he's a sit in this one. Right now, we know Taysom Hill, he's going to be out majority of this season, so he's not going to take some snaps and gadget plays from this whole offense, which obviously they could use with at the quarterback position. It's going to be a rough year with Spencer Rattler, but Juwan Johnson, he hasn't really been a fantasy option. He's a sit. New York Giants at the Commanders, Theo Johnson a sit. He's an intriguing prospect who came out a couple years ago in the NFL draft, is Theo Johnson. But another guy who hasn't been consistent so far last season in his rookie year. And Russell Wilson, we know he likes targeting the tight end. So with Russell Wilson there, quarterback, obviously this offense is going to be an upgrade for the New York Giants. You got Wilson, Malik Nabers, Wandale Robinson still there as well, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt. So I think this offense does improve this season with the veteran quarterback. And then possibly second half of the year, the rookie Jackson Dart comes into the lineup. But this week, at a pretty good Commander defense. And Johnson, not much of a track record in his early career. He's a sit. Zach Ertz to start. Him and Jaden Daniels, they've had great rapport in their first season together last year. And Zach Ertz, I know he's an older player, obviously, in the latter part of his career, mid-30s, now with Zach Ertz. But last season, he still could run the routes. He was a big goal line threat. And I always say this in my videos, a young quarterback, security blanket, and best friend at times in tough situations is the tight end position. So Ertz, even as the number 3 option in this offense with Deebo Samuel coming in, I still think could go out there and make plays. And he's had a great track record throughout his career versus the New York Giants. And also, I think Terry McLaurin's not going to be 100% up to snuff with his conditioning after holding out as well the whole training camp pretty much in preseason. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Falcons, Kate Otten a sit. I know, obviously, Chris Godwin, he's out to October. Gerald McMillan out as well. But Mike Evans is healthy. Mecca Ibuka, they're big on coming into the season is Tampa Bay. And we've seen Otten, no doubt about it, have some pop games here and there. But with those 2 guys in there, and Bucky Irvin as well out of the backfield, one of the better receiving backs. And Rashad White is a change of pace back coming in on some passing downs as well. Kate Otten, not much upside in my opinion. He's a sit. Kyle Pitts is a sit. Year after year, a lot of people gave Pitts chances, and now most fantasy drafts, he's been a last round flyer for fantasy owners or undrafted is Kyle Pitts. So maybe Michael Penix could get him going. People thought Kirk Cousins would last season, but like I said, Kyle Pitts, at this point, he's just a bust of a tight end who was a monster in college, but it obviously didn't translate to the NFL, even though he's had very bad quarterbacks majority of his career. Cincinnati Bengals at the Browns, Mike Gesicki. Last season, he had some good games, big red zone threat, yard after catch type of tight end, but there's just too many options over there in that offense, even though we know Joe Burrow spreads it out. And you got Jamar Chase, the best receiver in the league. T. Higgins, one of the best, if not the best 1-2 combo at the receiver position on the same team in the league. And then you got Chase Brown at the running back position. That's a solid receiver out of the backfield as well. So with all those factors, and even in a good matchup, Mike Gesicki is sit. David Njoku will start. This Brown team, I believe they're going to be trailing early and often. And we know the Cincinnati Bengal defense isn't good at all. So this could be a high-scoring matchup over there between these 2 division rivals. And I think with Njoku, a guy like Joe Flacco is a perfect fit for him. Joe Flacco, 41 years old, still goes out there, still swings that football around the field as Flacco. And Njoku last season, he played well when he actually had a quarterback in there that could spread the football. And even a couple years ago when Flacco was on the Browns with his first stint, Njoku put up some nice numbers. So this week with a good matchup and not many options besides Jerry Jeudy and Tillman in the offense, I like Njoku. This week, Vegas Raiders at the New England Patriots. Brock Bowers, number 1 tight end easily coming into the season. Last year, he put wide receiver numbers 1 up where he was top 12 in fantasy points overall in the season compared with wide receivers. So Brock Bowers, it was a monster rookie year, over 110 catches, over 1,200 yards. And this season, he had Jacoby Myers. He's already requested a trade. some more targets I possibly think could go Bauer's way if he gets traded, where there's not much behind him in the receiving room. And also with Geno Smith in there, quarterback, he's a better quarterback than Nathan O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, who he had to deal with last season. So Bowers, believe it or not, it could be a better season, and this week a pretty good matchup at the Patriots. Hunter Henry, he's a fringe option, number 2 option in the passing game, in my opinion, coming into the year. Stephon Diggs, obviously they got there. Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, the rookie, not much in that receiving room. And Diggs, we don't know if he's 100%. And like I say, a young quarterback, security blanket is the tight end position for Drake May. And last year they had a good rapport, but this week I have to wait and see with Hunter Henry, so he's a fringe option. San Francisco 49ers at the Seahawks, George Kittle a must start. He was the 3rd tight end taken off the board in most fantasy drafts. And with all the injuries and guys leaving in the offseason as well over there in San Francisco, Debo traded off to the Commanders. Brandon Ayuk, he's going to be out at least a month, maybe 2 for this 49er team. And also Jawan Jennings, we don't know if he's going to play in this game. So Kittle, him and Purdy have great rapport. Still one of the better tight ends, even though it feels like he's been around forever, is George Kittle. And this week a must start in a team division rival in Seattle that he's had a great track record. Elijah Arroyo, he's a rookie in this offense, but he's not going to see much. And this team, they really haven't utilized the tight end position in many seasons, is a Seattle Seahawks team. I know it's a new regime over the last couple of years. I know Sam Darnold, first season here with the Seattle team. But when you got Jackson Smith, Najigba, and Cooper Kupp, target's going to be hard to come by. Tennessee Titans at the Broncos, Chigu Kwango will sit. I know Cam Ward's in there, quarterback. I think Cam Ward, it could be a good rookie season for him with limited options. But this is a very tough matchup versus one of the best, if not the best defense in the league in Denver. And like I said, he really hasn't done much the last 2 seasons in fantasy football. We'll sit Evan Ingram a start. I think he's the number 2 option in the passing game. Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram. And Evan Ingram, we know when he's healthy and right and has a quarterback that can get him the football in the right places, he could put up numbers. And we saw it a couple seasons ago, over 100 catches in 2023 with Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback in Jacksonville. So now coming in, Sean Payton offense, great offensive mind, obviously. Bo Nix, solid rookie season last year and a good matchup versus Tennessee. He's a great start. Detroit Lions at the Packers, great division matchup. It's going to be between these 2 teams. Sam Laporta, it was a down second year after rookie season. He broke a lot of rookie records at the tight end position, even though last year Brock Bowers came in as a rookie and smashed those records. But this week here, going to be a high-scoring game. Like I said, division rival Sam Laporta still had a good year for a tight end, just obviously not what he did his rookie season. So he's a locked-in start as a top 5 tight end off the board. Tucker Kraft to start as well. I think he could be the more consistent option in this passing game, especially in the early going. They got a lot of receivers in that receiving room, and they just don't know how it's going to pan out. They got Matthew Golden, 1st-round pick, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, even though he's hurt. What else is new? Romeo Doubs in the receiving room. So I think Tucker Kraft could be the most viable option early in the season. And also Jordan Love, I know it's his 3rd season as a starter, but a security blanket as well for a young quarterback is the tight end. Houston Texans at the Rams, not much in this one. Dalton Schultz is it. Schultz, he's had a couple good years throughout his career, going back with the Cowboys. Then his first season with the Texans, he was all right. But this pretty much offense is going to pass through Nico Collins. He's been a target monster the last couple seasons. They added Christian Kirk, which could help a little bit, and Jaden Higgins, who I'm big on coming into the year, especially second half as a big wide receiver. So Dalton Schultz, I don't see him doing much in this game, even though it could be high scoring. And Tyler Higbee, same thing. He's a sit as well. He hasn't done much the last couple seasons. He was out last year, majority of the year with injury. And now with Devontae Adams brought in to go with Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams out of the backfield, he's a sit this week. Baltimore Ravens at the Bills, Sunday Night Football. What a way to kick it off in the AFC with arguably the 2 best teams in the AFC, even though we know the Chiefs always find a way to get to the Super Bowl. It seems like Mark Andrews is a start. Mark Andrews, in a lot of drafts, he fell as Andrews, and people don't realize he's possibly still the number 1 option in the passing game. I know Isaiah Likely's over there, and last year Andrews, the first month of the season, did nothing, but it took him time to get his legs under him after a bad injury in 2023 for Andrews. So Andrews, he's a must-start. Can run the routes, big red zone threat, still had 11 touchdowns last season, and Likely not 100% with the foot. And like I said, he's the backup, so he's a sit. Dalton Kincaid, a fringe option. He was a 1st-round pick tight end a few seasons ago. Last year, injuries and lack of consistency did Kincaid in, and it's tough to play with Josh Allen with his running ability, and he's a quarterback that just spreads it all out all over the field, especially now with Stephon Diggs not there the last couple years. Allen has opened it up even more to other options. So at best, high-scoring game most likely here. He's a fringe option. In the final game Monday night, Minnesota Vikings at the Bears. TJ Hawkinson to start, second season now, coming off the ACL. Last year he had some good games as TJ Hawkinson, and he was a good solid tight end pick in the 7th, 8th round range for most fantasy owners. So this week in a matchup where this could be high scoring between division rivals in the NFC North here on Monday night, I think TJ Hawkinson's locked in, and JJ McCarthy, a young quarterback, he's going to be looking for that tight end position. A big target in Hawkinson and Colston Loveland. He's a start for me. I know in the early going it might take a little bit for Loveland to get going, but the thing is here, they took him with the number 10 pick in the NFL draft, and we know how Ben Johnson utilizes the tight end, where he was the offensive coordinator with the Lions for many years, and we saw Sam Laporta break out, have a monster rookie season. So I'm not saying Loveland's going to put up Laporta numbers, but he's a big target, yard after catch, and one of the better tight end prospects to come out in the last decade. And Cole Kmet has hit since day one pretty much. Loveland jumped him on the depth chart for the Chicago Bear team. And like I said, you're not going to use high draft capital, the number 10 pick overall, to have Loveland sit on the bench. So I think he's going to play some snaps, a decent amount in the early going, run a lot of routes is Loveland. And Cole Kmet last season was inconsistent as well. So that's tight end start sits every matchup for week 1 of the fantasy football season.